Before we begin, and if you don't know me, hi, I am Dr. Christina Cruz. I am a doctor of clinical psychology, an online mindset and confidence coach, and the creator of the Resilient Mind Method. I specialize in helping purpose driven, empathic entrepreneurs and career driven women release self doubt and worries that are keeping them stuck so they can confidently take action to pursue their personal and professional dreams with ease. Now, in my program, I have a module dedicated to self care. But in reality, all throughout the 12 weeks of my program, I am talking about self care in one way or another because it is a very important topic and piece to our overall health and well being. So let's dive in. So, what is self care? So it's essentially any activity that we deliberately do in order to take care of our mental, our emotional, our spiritual and physical health. What I really like to boil self-care down to is caring for the self. So yes, that could mean getting your hair done and getting manicures and pedicures, but it could also mean leaving a toxic relationship or ending a friendship or setting boundaries at work or paying off your student debt. Whatever feels like you are taking care of yourself and your well-being. That's self-care. So in my coaching practice, I work with busy women like yourself. And whenever I've asked them about their self care, oftentimes I am honestly met with resistance or annoyance because clients have told me that self care can feel like another thing to do, another thing to add to their overflowing plates. And listen, as a business owner, as a wife, as a mom to two active toddlers, I totally get it. And yet, if we keep in mind self care is caring for ourselves, the care that we give ourselves can be in the smallest of ways. It doesn't need to be grand, it doesn't need to be what we see in magazines or on social media, but rather habitually turning to ourselves, habitually turning to our needs. That's what I like to call self care. And so, what I have found over the past decade working with busy women is when stress goes up, self care goes down. And think about it in your own life. When you are stretched thin, is your inclination to meet your self care needs first? Maybe it is, but at least in my practice, that's not usually the case. Again, what I usually see when self care goes up, I'm sorry, when stress goes up, self care goes down. And that can translate to skipping meals, not taking breaks, going into overdrive, and sacrifice. So, since you are living in today's world, you know that there is no shortage of self care talk. You've probably heard and understand on an intellectual level the benefits of self care, right? So, things such as self care can help with decreasing your stress, it can help with anxiety and depression and fatigue, and it can improve your overall happiness and fulfillment. The list goes on, right? So, if we know the benefits of self care, then why is it so hard for some people to follow through and implement their own self care routine? Well, there could be many contributing factors, but just to name a few. If you grew up in an environment where your caregivers didn't model self care and instead modeled constant self sacrifice and perhaps even people pleasing, then it can be difficult for you to assert your own self care needs. Or if you have the belief that self care is selfish or lazy or not productive, which also may have originated with your family of origin, that can impact your self care. And again, depending on your beliefs, self care can bring feelings of shame, it can bring feelings of guilt and unworthiness. Um, Self care can also encourage us to be alone and to sit with ourselves, which I've heard from clients can highlight their loneliness in their life. And so people don't want to feel that loneliness. They don't want to feel these raw, tender emotions like shame and guilt and unworthiness. And so if they don't want to feel those emotions, they turn those off. They don't give those attention. And so what they end up doing is also turning off their self care. So if any of those scenarios resonate with you, please give yourself some grace and understand there's a lot more, there's a lot deeper issues or deeper layers to why someone might not be fulfilling their self care needs. So, now let's talk about what happens when we don't care for ourselves. Again, think about how you feel and your behaviors when you are stretched thin, when you are in a chronic state of stress and you're not meeting your needs. What does that look like for you? It can I've seen it lead to burnout, to resentment, to anger outbursts, to again, anxiety, depression, lack of fulfillment, lack of happiness, making mistakes at work. The list goes on, right? I know when my self care is suffering, I am irritable. My patience is thin, and I'm disconnected from myself. I'm disconnected from my family, from my friends, and quite frankly, my motivation is non-existent. So how can we incorporate more self-care into our lives without it feeling like a chore? Start small. I like to tell my clients to start with the basics. Start with your physiological needs. So are you eating enough? Are you getting enough proper nutrients? Are you drinking enough water? Are you sleeping enough? Did you move your body today or have you been stagnant all day? 9 out of 10 times when I assess a client's self care needs, there's usually some physiological need not being met. And that's a place that we can start. That can be our place of focus for the time being. And think about it, there is a ripple down effect of not meeting our physiological needs. Something so small as not getting enough water, for example. I mean, I know when I don't get enough water, I feel dehydrated. It can lead to headaches, which can make me feel less present. I'm obviously in my head a little bit more. I lack patience when I have a headache. So there is a domino effect when we are not meeting our most basic needs. So, but let's say that you are meeting your basic needs on a regular basis and it becomes more routine in your life. Then that's a time that we can look to other areas of your life that could use some attention. So consider the areas that you struggle with or are troubling in your everyday life on a daily basis for you. So do you find yourself constantly saying that you're tired all the time, that you don't have enough time? Perhaps you haven't had enough alone time. Um, and I've had some clients in the past when I've asked them this question, they've basically kind of joked like, I need to clone myself or I need an assistant, which was actually great information for us to look at. You know, one client, she did ask her company for an assistant. And another client, it was information for us to explore how she delegates and how she asks for help. And what we found, she wasn't delegating and she wasn't asking for help. So she was saying a lot of things like, don't have enough time, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, which were all true. But once we kind of looked at, okay, how can we help ourselves? How can we take care of ourselves by delegating, by asking for help? That actually changed her workload. So all right, so here are some simple ways to take care of yourself, to ground yourself, to center yourself, especially when you are stressed and overwhelmed. And I'm going to go through them and then give some examples. So self-care can come in the form of physical activity. It can come in the form of sleep or naps or rest, breathing, imagination, self-expression, crying, social interactions, intimate connections, connection with nature and spirituality and laughter. The point is to do something repeatedly that is self-regulating and feels like you are taking care of yourself. So some examples could be going outside and just getting some fresh air and feeling the sun on your face after having back-to-back Zoom meetings, or taking 5 deep breaths before you go live. Or taking a nap when your newborn is sleeping, um, watching a romantic comedy to get a good cry in, or getting a loving hug from your partner, or giving one to yourself, or taking your dog for a walk and getting some. Speaking of dog, oh my gosh, that's as if it was like cute. Take your dog for a walk and give him or her lots of belly rubs. So this week, especially after a stressful or challenging moment, I want you to try one activity that will help you feel safe again, that will help you reconnect with your body, that will help you manage the stressful moment, even in the slightest of ways. So giving your dog belly rubs might not lessen your workload, but it could help you relieve some stress and help you have a clearer mind. If you get into the habit of practicing these small acts of self love, especially during your most challenging days, you will help your body return to baseline quicker and you will become more resilient to stress. Lastly, do not compare your self care to others. Your needs are going to be different from your partners, from your friends, from the people you follow on social media. Also, what you need right now might not be what you need long term. So, for example, when my children were newborns, I felt like I was in survival mode. Sleep was of the highest currency. And so, when I wasn't taking care of them, I was focusing on getting more sleep. And yes, that meant I had to sacrifice or let the dishes pile up, the laundry pile up so that I could get more sleep, so I could feel more rested. And that was for the time being. And then I could focus on other things. And now that we're getting a bit more sleep, I am able to focus on exercising more and connecting with friends and family, at least virtually for now. So that is what I have for you guys. Let me know in the comments if you're watching this. Hi, Allie. Let me know if you are struggling with self-care, if you're struggling to get into a routine. If you want, please reach out to me. I can help you with self-care and establishing a routine and finding a place, a small actionable place to start with. And let me know at least one small, itty bitty, tiny way that you can take care of yourself this week. All right, well, that's what I've got for now. Have a good one. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.